new plots. Is there a way to go wrong? Is there right things to do? Is there wrong things to do? If you, obviously you're on social media if you're watching this, there are so many ways to do proper steps that people teach, and don't get me wrong, there is a lot of good information out there. There's guys that have a way greener thumb than I've got. I always tell my clients it's kind of a joke, but I've been pretty blessed over the years to have, be fortunate enough to have areas that I, farms that I have had plots on, dating back to my days in the Midwest. And so, 20 years of success and failure have brought us to this video. I've wanted to find a way since I've done this. I've been doing, obviously, if you guys follow along, I've been doing the habitat management and the consulting, the whitetail consulting for years, but just decided, a couple of years ago, this is my second full year after my back injury, and had to make a decision there to do it full time, and it's the best decision I've ever made. But I've always wanted to help my clients, help myself learning, help my clients find this a very strong way, not a fail-proof way, but a very high success, a higher success way to get the right tonnage to the properties that don't meet the perfect spec of a perfect dark soil farm. Over the years, what I've done, I actually just looked at this the other night, and something that I kind of study. I'm kind of a percentage junkie, if you will, sometimes, but it's about 80%. About 80% of the farms, taking in for the last 2 years, and then in the past, kind of thinking back on some stuff, but 80% of my client properties, the soil is not correct. And 50% of the farms that I visit, the clients that I visit, 50% of those farms have had failed food plots. So I learned real quick in this game that there's a disconnect with getting the right tonnage on farms. But with that said, there is a very powerful message that has to be, you have to connect the habitat improvements as far as your hardscape is what I say, as far as your timber improvements, your bedding areas, your hinge cutting, your soft mass planting trees, all that stuff. There's a connection that has to be met, and that connection is through the end piece of the puzzle that ties everything together. With the habitat side of it is a successful food plot. Now, the other thing that completes that is you being able to hunt the farm and not getting detected. That's the final step. But the last piece of the habitat puzzle is you have to have food plots. So the video today is I want to chat about is with that in mind, taking those percentages in. 80% of the farms that I visit, the soil isn't correct. 50% of the farms that I've been on in the past, my client properties, 50% of those have had failed food plots, either the customer and the property, or the customer on other property, client on other property, whatever that is, 50% of it. So there's a couple of things out there that I've researched, and giving credit where credit is due. There's a couple of guys in the industry that have kind of I think have struggled, have found that piece of or have been searching for that piece of the puzzle like I was, but that they have exported this years ago, and were trial and error, and now it's out all over. One is Mr. Grant Woods, and the other one is Jeff Sturgis. Both great guys, know them in the industry. They do great work, and I respect them both. They have both, have seen this and struggled with this with their clients, and there's some things that they do that they recommend doing with a kind of a no-till system, and also with building that organic matter, but doing it on a budget, and so everybody can be successful at these food plots. And so they are, some guys that you'll see a lot of the successful sides of the version that I am doing. The difference that we do is they don't do any tilling at all. It's all spraying and then they no-till drill everything in. Well, when you start the plots, so if on a new plot, let's say you go in and you are spraying, you know, using your Roundup and your glyphosate, and you're burning these plots off, and the theory is you don't have to have the ag equipment, you don't have to have any tillage tools, four-wheeler and a sprayer or a backpack sprayer. You go in and kill these areas off that you've designed, or you've had me come in and design, and you go in, and a guy like me come in and design, and you do this planting or this spraying, kill everything off, and then you back it up with another spraying. You know, like Roundup, for example, is it's 3 weeks, so 21 days in the ground, so you can't plant after that, obviously, because it could damage your seed. Glyphosate, on the other hand, is a post-emergent. It won't kill the that seed unless it is it germinates, and then you're going to kill the seed. So going in, you know, the step is that you've all followed along with those guys that have proven success, have done great stuff, is they go in and they kill these plots. And then they, a lot of their first initial steps is they go in and they'll, you know, to get the product that you need for the fall planting is rye and buckwheat. And they go in and they'll no-till drill. Well, and it works. It works. You no-till drill rye in the middle of June, towards the end of June. You go in and you, when your soil temperatures are up in that, you know, 50-some degree, 58-degree mark, you go in and you till this, or you no-till drill in rye and buckwheat, and then you have a product to use for the fall season. It's all in preparation for the fall season. So my outlook on that is I've always thought of this, is not everybody, including myself, has a no-till drill. I'm lucky enough to have my Plotmaster that with the chisel attachment that you can get for it, I can technically no-till drill, but it's not no-till drilling. And those no-till drills, folks, if you haven't researched them, they are expensive, and you can't pull them by hand, so you got to have something in front of them. Good thing is you can rent them, the NRC offices, but you still got to rent a tractor, have a buddy with a tractor. So I'm always searching, like, there's got to be a way to do this, so more you know, handy. No, going into it, there's a couple ways. There's always a couple of different ways, but to me there's, you know, 2 or 3 important steps to get to an end goal when doing this plot so you can be successful. To me, I do not like debris. It's something that drives me crazy in food plots, even on client properties when I go, that have just sprayed, you know, because they have no equipment, and that's great. That's the theory that we're going down here, the road here, but it doesn't get the debris off your plots. And when I say debris, I mean the sticks and everything on there that is in there. Now I'll show you is as I walk around this. So stepping back here, so what I do is I always encourage my clients, if you're going to cut in your first initial plot, if you can, now this is the step here, if you can, that is, if you have the ability to reach out to a friend to ask an initial favor when you first start your farm, if you can go to the local rental station to rent the tractor, pick up a cheap disc, a plow, whatever the case is, what I always tell them is, I'd like to see folks do that initially. And the reason it is because, just like I did today, this plot is the new plot at the house. I came in, I planted it to rye last year, knowing that I was going to do something, you know, I was going to continue on here, so it was ready to sell. And so it was all grew up, you know, I planted the Egyptian wheat along the edge there that some grew, some didn't. I just threw the bunch of seed, extra seed that I had from a couple projects and that I had collected over the year last year, partial bags. I just threw it all out there. The reason is I'm building some organic matter. I'm getting something in there to put down to start the process. So just like this, I come out here, I took the Plotmaster and drug it around and leveled it out. I was too tight to get in the center, but I've got a friend of mine on his way over with a loader, and we're going to take all my barnyard cleanings and we're going to put it on there, and we're going to do that, and then I'll finish the preparation of the plot. But like I'm saying, if you have the possibility to do that, what I'd like to do is that way, whether it's a disc and you just flatten the grass down and you turn some of it over, what you're doing is exposing some of the debris, sticks, smashed beer cans that are out there, all that stuff. You can see it, pick it up, get it off that area. And the reason is if you just do the spray, and it works. That's what I'm saying. If you don't have the ability to do any of the other steps that is promoted out in there, spraying and then just broadcasting or the no-till drill into it. But like I'm saying is, I'd rather see you do is to take the expense that you're going to have in the no-till drill or the rental up front and of the no-till drill, or somebody that has one or whatever the case is, try to get one. I'd rather see you prep the plots first. So you cut them in, you make your angles, you can see how the plot lays out. You have all your summer grasses growing in. They're really easy to visualize and see. Then you have something to work with. Then you can go in here and you pick all the debris up. You have a nice clean plot area, soil. You have started. To me, the more I learn about this is that's why I promote the Morgan's Composting's that food plot. The food plot do so strong is because the organic matter, the fungus, all this stuff, the worm base, all this stuff, castings that go with it to make successful soil is, to me, one of the things that helps and that I've been successful with is you have you start with a good clean seed bed and you're opening that up for oxygen and it starts the process. After this is done, after you pick all the debris up, you go through and you throw everything off from it that you can, and then it's level. Then you can go in, what I'm saying is then you can do the rest of this process with simply a handheld spreader, handheld sprayer, no equipment. It's as simple as that. You can do it with nothing. So ATV, a roller, you can get your hands on a old color packer, pull it with a truck. There's a million different things that you can do after the fact of getting them created, setting them in, cleaning them so there's no debris. Because one of the things I'll show you here is we'll walk out. Here's a perfect example right here. I did the plot, and this is a bag that from whatever years ago from something is left over. Now I'm going to show you is if you think about it, if you just spray it, and that area right there, and it doesn't sound like much, but guys, when you're planting 10s and 20s and you're planting an acre or 2 acres, that 1 by 1 spot right there, that's never going to grow anything underneath it, no seed, because it's plastic. Or just up there a little ways, there's a big section of a log I got to throw out. That area is never going to grow anything, because yes, you will be able to add through the buffalo system and that we talk about, you know, you will be able to add matter on top of that. But every time that you run through there with your four-wheeler, all this stuff is you're going to be running over that darn thing all the time, to me. And it's kind of an OCD thing, maybe, I don't know, plays into it a little bit. But I clean it, I get the area prepped, and then after that you plant your rye and your buckwheat. You plant it in. You don't have to use fertilizer right off the bat. I recommend it. I recommend doing the fertilizer and the lime, doing it, getting your pH correct, trying to hit that 6.5, get towards 7, so it's right for your brassicas going into the fall. Plant it with rye and buckwheat and color pack it in with your fertilizer, your lime, get all the debris off from it. Then after that, you can sell your disc, you can sell your plow. You can do this very simply and be very successful. And the steps are, so you plant the rye into buckwheat. After it's you know, you till it, and you compact that in, and that is in the middle of June. After that, like I was saying, after that soil condition or that soil temperature comes up, then what you do is you turn and you take the you let it grow, and you can fertilize it a couple different times. You can let it go. You're creating the stem count that you need, the proper coverage to create, so you can lay that mulch down on top of your brassicas in the fall. Then the last week of August, the last week of July, first week of August, rain dependent. You know rain is coming hours before, a day before, whatever the case is. You go out in those plots. Now this whole area is rye and buckwheat. It's all established. It's all clean. You don't have to worry about popping a tire with your ATV. It's all clean. It's established. So then August is here. You simply broadcast your brassicas. into your standing rye and your buckwheat, which by then will be, you know, knee, waist deep, 3 foot tall, good looking cover crop. And you go through and you, at that point, if you're okay with if you're knowledgeable enough with the chemicals, there's a step here that you can do. If not, I'm saying, you make this really simple. You just broadcast your brassicas into it, and you roll and pack or roll and crimp your rye and your buckwheat over the top of the brassicas, and you're off and running on the Buffalo system. The following year, you come back in, then you can spray it like they recommend that you can spray with your 2,4-D and your glyphosate, and then you don't have to own anything other than a sprayer and a handheld, as simple as a handheld backpack seed spreader. That's how simple it can be done. But that's the step that I do. And today, before the rest of the work is done, we're adding stuff to it with a loader. I'm selling the place. I'm getting all this stuff cleaned up, and it's all going here. The food plot's going to shine. I'm turning it under. I'm giving that the jump start. I'm reaching my pH. I'm cleaning it. So the person in the future that's going to maintain this, hopefully if they do, it's simple. And I'll leave an instruction here with them when they buy the farm, and it's simple to maintain. Very simple to maintain, and they don't need the heavy equipment. But if you think about it, if you don't do this step, and I sometimes don't. I mean, if I can survey, but I know just by visually seeing and walking a plot area, I know from experience that I can get away with just spraying. But a lot of guys don't see what's in there that could potentially pop tires, and then so that's why I use this method more than I use the just initial spray method, is because I like turning it over. I like creating the edges. I like making sure it lays out how I want to lay it out. I like cleaning the debris out, and then after we create that nice level seed bed, all the sticks, all the rocks are off from it, then we put the rye and the buckwheat to it, let it grow, and then we go through the Buffalo system. And like I said, then my clients are off to a great start. It looks good. It plays the part. You're letting the oxygen get to it. You're making that seed to soil contact. That first step that you need with that seed to soil contact, you're getting it in. You're creating that first growth of your rye and your buckwheat. And guys, you're going to be way more successful if you do this. Now, like I said, if you can't get the tools, the tillage tool, then they are 100% correct with saying you just spray it and you don't need to do this. And that is the truth. I do this because, like I said, I have it's something that bugs me when I walk into a food plot and there's sticks laying all over. And like I said, I'm kind of a numbers guy, but I don't know exactly what that would be. But if you have a 1/4 acre plot, a 1/2 acre plot such as this, and you go in and you start underneath, a 1 square foot area of the old bag that's here, and over there's half a sheet of plywood and an old 4x6 or piece of metal, all that stuff's out there. It adds up in a hurry, and it's all just square footage, I guess. That's that not acreage but square footage, but it all adds up. And to me, it cleans it, sets that footprint, and you're off and running. So that's the step that I use. That's the step that I recommend. I recommend doing this step when you first do them, instead of trying to find, because they're harder to find. It's not everyone has a no-till drill. And then you can just, like we're going to do here, I'm going to broadcast this by hand or with the Plot Master because I have it. But if I didn't have it, I would just broadcast it in by hand, and we're going to color pack it, and it's off and running, and it's clean, and you're on to a successful food plot. But like I said, this system is something that I'm going to promote here, and we're going to work on, and I'm going to bring you the do's and the don'ts and the fails and the pros and the cons of it, because I strongly feel that this is the answer to creating successful food plots. And when I say this, guys, I mean successful food plots from obviously your rye and buckwheat all the way down to your clovers and your brassicas in the fall. If you are a summer food plot guy, or you need those deer numbers, it works. It works on all the spectrums of it. But to me, spend the initial money, get your buddy with a tractor, or the or rent the you know, disc and the tractor, lay them out, get them clean, and then after that you just, you know, do it with the ATV or the hand and the backpack spreaders, and it'll be much more successful. You'll feel more comfortable knowing that it's a visual too. To me, it's a visual, and you're often running on the step of a successful food plot. So take all the information that are out there on those guys' site, because folks, it works. And in giving credit where credit is due, I'm one of the guys that will promote other people, not just shine all the spotlight on myself. And I'm telling you, the system that they've coined over the years works, and it's a system that you need to implement. If you're blessed enough to have the big tillage tools, that's great. But I'm here to tell you that for the last 2 years we've been doing this, and this plot is getting done to it. My new farm is getting done, is because it's simple, easy to maintain, and not all of us have the big tillage tools. And even if you have the big tillage tools, and I know a lot of my farm buddies watching this are gonna just shake their head that I'm even saying this, but there's a lot to be said by not tilling that soil, and what you can get to live in there to help promote simple food plot work. Now, it might not work for the big ag guy and the corn and the guy that wants to grow soybeans, and I get that. It's got their place. We're not cash croppers. Our cash is mature whitetails in the fall, if you want to use that example. That's the way I look at it. So there's a reason they do what they do, and there's a reason what we need to do what we need to do, and that's why I'm teaching this. I'm picking this up, and I'm adding my own, you know, kind of what works for me and bringing that to you. Like I said, if you don't have the tillage tools to do it, then just go with the spray, and then you can just kind of pick it up as you go. But by tilling it and doing this and exposing that, it starts the process. It exposes all this junk. It lays a good seed bed down, and I find I'm more successful. And to me, maybe it is more of a peace of mind thing, but I'm more successful when I start them this way. And then from there on out, like I said, you could sell the tractor and the disc after that, because you don't need it. So take that tip, follow along. We're gonna bring you some stuff on here when we get start putting we're gonna put the manure and the extra dirt and everything in here that we've got, and by the end of the video, by the end of the week here, it will be seeded, and we're off and running towards fall. Thanks, guys.